Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 525. I had the white pieces and kicked off with c4, the English opening. My opponent went for e5, a reverse Sicilian kind of setup, so I just continue in normal English fashion. G3 is kind of a light squared strategy, controlling all of this squares on the long diagonal here. He goes knight f6, I go bishop g2, he goes bishop to e7. That's kind of a rare move. A lot of times, since I've already put my bishop here, black will be tempted to play a move like c6. Looks like it's also possible to play d5 immediately, just opening things up, or knight to c6. Anyway, bishop e7. Not a bad move, though. It's just a bit unusual. Knight c3, and he castles. So black gets a comfortable position here. And now I go with the rare move e4. But, well, I've just been playing this Botvinnik setup quite a bit recently, and I've gotten to like it, so I've just been trying it out in different situations. It's a very flexible setup. Here, we'll go on a few more moves, and I'll talk about it some. He goes with an attempt to directly fight against this pawn structure with playing a later d5. A little more accurate here, and probably better for black, would be to get the bishop out to a more active post, play d6, and then he's free to develop his knight and his bishop, and black should have an okay position there. Okay, but he went with c6. I go d3, knight a6. His knight's going to come back to c7 to help support this d5 push. I go knight ge2. He goes bishop b4, pinning this knight, also kind of indirectly putting pressure on the d5 square. And I castle. And here I've completed the Botvinnik setup. This is the pawn triangle here with the pawns on c4 and e4. The knights supporting each other and staying out of the way of the bishop, so the bishop has a clear view of the center. So this has really kind of an iron grip on this d5 square, and it's really a mistaken plan for black to try and play a move like d5. I just have too much force in it, and never, well, I can't say never, it generally doesn't work out well. So a lot of times black will play a strategy. What I play as black actually is to play a kind of a symmetric strategy. I put my pawns in this triangle, I give up the square d5 and try and get the square d4 for myself. Okay, so anyway, I think that's where black goes wrong in the early part of this game, though, is trying too hard to get in d5 and really have that pretty firmly under control. Let's see, he plays knight c7. I go a3, kicking the bishop and forcing the issue over here. He takes my knight. I take back. See, and I still have two pieces looking at this d5 square, but he plays d5 anyway. It's not like it loses material, because he does have enough. He's got two knights and a queen to support it there. But in the long run, he's kind of helped my bishop. This is quite a powerful piece. I could just keep on taking. C takes d5 is one of the choices here, but I decide to develop. And he takes, which opens up this diagonal for me. And now he could trade queens here. I was sort of expecting that, but maybe that's not particularly good. It's not one of the engine choices. He goes h6, kicking my queen, kicking my bishop, and I decide to trade, giving up the bishop pair, which I'm a little bit surprised the engine likes that move, actually. It seems logical. It's this bishop doesn't have so many great squares, so you just give it up for this knight, which is potentially dangerous, gives you a better grip over the light squares. But even so, you are giving up the bishop pair, which is kind of a long-term advantage. So I'm surprised that the engine evaluates this position as so favorable to white. But I guess I have done a lot to enhance the power of this bishop by eliminating that knight. Okay, so I went with queen b3, focusing on the b7 square there. The engine is recommending just normal development with rook e1 or rook c1. Something like rook e1, he might play rook to d8, chasing the queen. The queen could come over here to e2 and just go for dominance on the e-file. That's one way to play it. Anyway, I went with queen b3. It's not too bad, but he blocks this. Rook b8, just defending the pawn is probably a better way to deal with this. Rook b8 defends the pawn, and later he can play b6 and bishop b7 and contest my bishop on the long diagonal. That's probably the way I would play it as black. Okay, he goes here, and I just trade. He's going to be left with a couple of weak pawns over here, and my pawns are a little bit harder to attack. So let's see. I continue with rook a d1, He goes knight e6, getting his pieces into play. I go knight d5, and now I'm hitting this this b pawn. And it's funny, that pawn cannot be defended. The only move that even appears to defend it is this move here. And this actually fails to kind of a cute tactic. I can play knight to e7 check, and after the king moves, I can grab the bishop. And after the rook takes back, this pawn is hanging. And not only that, when I take the pawn, it forks the two rooks. So that's a very unfortunate placement of the rooks there. So he can't actually defend this pawn after knight d5. He decides to play rook b8, hold on to the other pawn, but now he's a pawn down. I just have an advantage here. Let's see, he goes knight d4, rook fe1, getting all my pieces into the game. He goes bishop g4. Cancel that. He's doing the right thing. He's getting his pieces out, and he's harassing my pieces, so he's going for play. And but still, I should keep an edge with accurate play. Let's see, he goes rook fe8. But right here, I make a mistake. I play the move h3. So if you didn't see the video and you don't look at the side of the board, oh, it's hidden here. Anyway, you might want to consider why h3 is a bad move. Okay, hopefully you saw the answer. There's this amazing knight fork here with hitting the king and the two rooks, and the rooks are both unprotected. So when I play h3, he can just take that pawn. I can't really take back because I'm giving up a whole rook when I do that. Now, for some reason, I thought I was getting like 2 pieces for the rook, so I thought this was okay for me. And it wasn't until we got here and I realized, oh, I'm not ever getting that knight. I got the bishop, but not the knight, so I'm just down the exchange, and I lost a pawn. So the pawns are even because I gained a pawn earlier, but I am just down the exchange here. But, well, the game continues. It's not the end of the world. I harass his rook. I harass his knight. And right here he makes a little mistake. His best way to defend the knight would be this rook, the e rook to d8. Or he could just move the knight away. Knight to e4 would be a move here. So either of those would be a little better than what he played. He played here. This is still winning for black, but well, I have this little tactic here with bishop to d7. It actually allows me to win the exchange back because it's a double attack. It's attacking the rook, and at the same time, I'm attacking his knight. So if we back up to this position, that's the reason why me moving the e rook over is better. I could still play bishop d7, but it would only be a single attack and not a double attack. So the way he played it, the bishop is attacking simultaneously with the rook attacking the knight. So there's no way to save this, and his best play here, no way to save the exchange, I should say. So his best way to play it is to go ahead and take the bishop, give up the exchange immediately, and then that distracts my knight and grab a pawn. And so he wins a pawn that way and keeps an advantage, 1 pawn advantage for black. That's best play for black. Instead, he moved the knight now, and that allows me to, well, first I want to maintain this double attack. My bishop is pinned against the rook, so I can't take his rook right away, but I can move my rook with an attack on his knight. So the knight drops back, and then I take the rook. And this gives me an advantage. The material is even, but I have these good pawns on the queen side. So there's 3 against 1 over here, and he has 4 against 2 over here. So same number of pawns, but my pawns are quicker to the goal line over here. My king is over here to slow down the black's pawns from advancing. Anyway, so I start right away with b4. He goes with e4, but this pawn is not going anywhere. I go c5, and he goes knight g4, and I go b5, and he pushes on with e3. So that's a mistake. I can just take that pawn. But even better than taking is actually to push on with c6. I didn't spot this, but already these pawns have advanced so far they've become dangerous, and I'll have to give up material to stop them. Anyway, I took here, and he can't really take back. If he takes with the knight, I will attack the knight with my king and win it. If he takes with the rook, this is a little bit trickier because I have to be careful about knight maneuvers. For example, if I were to play king f3, kind of a natural move, and he goes here, And then I pushed on with c6, not paying attention. He can take and then check and get the pawn back and then have a draw. So that was not best play, obviously, but shows trouble you can get into. Actually, in this position, the best move for white is to move the king over here, away from those knight forks. And now the knight can't get to the c6 square in time. It really required that tempo with the fork, with the check against the king to get to that square. So I can, say after the knight goes here, I can just push on with c6, and I'm going to be winning some material. So that would all be winning. But even so, it would be a little more complicated. In fact, his best defense is to move the rook over here to d8 and play on a pawn down. And that would present some challenges, because there's always potential for tricks on the board when there are rooks and knights involved. But fortunately for me, he played the move rook c8, and eventually I realized I could just take it, which makes the ending much simpler to win. So he resigned at this point. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.